3:12 a.m. local time, Northern Arabian Sea. Inside the Combat Information Center of a U.S. Navy supercarrier, the Night Watch moves in near silence. Radar displays cast a muted green glow across the dark room. Operators monitor commercial shipping, escort vessels, and distant contacts scattered across a calm stretch of ocean that runs for hundreds of miles in every direction. Then the sonar console gives a single chirp. A petty officer leans toward the screen. Another tone follows, sharper than the first. The sonar technician goes still for a split second, then speaks. Possible transient. Heads turn instantly. The supervisor steps in behind the console. A waveform crawls across the display, brief, violent spikes buried in the endless background noise of the sea. Another spike appears, then one more. The sonar tech raises his voice across the CIC. 2 transient signatures. For a brief moment, nobody says a word, because everyone in that room knows exactly what it suggests. Something has just been launched underwater. A second later, the system starts calculating speed and bearing. Numbers flash onto the tactical display. Speed above 50 knots, course converging. One officer says it almost under his breath. Torpedoes. The captain does not wait for anyone else to confirm it. Sound general quarters. In an instant, the carrier comes alive. Alarm tones roll through the passageways. General quarters, general quarters. All hands, man your battle stations. Across the carrier's 330-meter flight deck, sailors rush toward ladders and hatches. Deep inside the hull, watertight doors slam shut. Weapons teams move to their stations as the enormous ship shifts from routine patrol to full combat readiness in a matter of seconds. Back in the CIC, the tactical picture becomes clearer. 2 torpedo tracks cut across the display. Distance 6 nautical miles, closing fast. Time to intercept, less than 7 minutes. One officer leans toward the captain. Bearing 093. Another voice cuts in. Second track, bearing 147. The room falls quiet again. Different bearings, different launch points. That can only mean one thing. 2 submarines. Someone has just built a crossfire around the most valuable ship in the strike group. The escort destroyers begin to move. On the radar screen, 2 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers break from formation. Their engines drive them to flank speed as they arc outward around the carrier. Sonar systems switch to active mode. Moments later, the sea answers with deep metallic pulses, sonar pings rolling through the water. Above the carrier, a Seahawk helicopter crew, already strapped in, receives the launch order. Rotors begin turning. In less than a minute, the MH-60R lifts off the deck and vanishes into the darkness, heading straight toward the suspected submarine positions. Inside the CIC, the torpedo tracks keep updating. 5 miles, 4.2. The carrier itself begins a slow turn. Massive rudders bite into the sea as the helm tries to angle the ship away from the incoming threat. But a nuclear supercarrier weighing more than 100,000 tons cannot react quickly, not compared with a torpedo racing underwater at highway speed. Deploy Nixie decoys, the captain orders. Far astern, cables unwind into the sea. The A/SLQ-25 Nixie countermeasure system enters the water, sending out powerful acoustic signals designed to pull the torpedoes away from the ship. A moment later, the first track starts to drift. Its guidance system is searching, but the second one stays steady. Locked in. 3 nautical miles. One officer watches the sonar display and speaks calmly. Recommend evasive maneuver. The captain studies the screen for half a second. Maintain the turn. Keep the decoys active. No panic, no shouting, just disciplined movement. Because this is exactly what the crew has rehearsed for. Still, the numbers continue to drop. 2.5 nautical miles. 2. High above, the Seahawk's dipping sonar finally catches something. A sharp metallic return, then the unmistakable rhythm of diesel-electric propellers. The sensor operator calls it out. Subsurface contact confirmed. The information streams back to the carrier immediately. Acoustic comparison begins. Within seconds, the classification appears on the main display. Kilo-class submarine, Iranian Navy. And it is not alone. A second sonobuoy lights up 20 miles away. Another submarine. Now the full picture comes into focus. 2 Iranian attack submarines, positioned on opposite sides of the strike group, had been waiting silently beneath the thermocline. And now their torpedoes are already cutting through the water. Inside the CIC, the countdown continues. 2 nautical miles. 1.8. The sonar technician stares at the screen, then says the words that make every officer in the room look up. They are switching to terminal guidance. That means the torpedoes are no longer searching. They have chosen their target, and now they are running straight for the carrier. 15 minutes earlier, 400 feet below the surface of the Arabian Sea, the ocean is pitch black. Inside an Iranian Kilo-class attack submarine, the air carries the faint smell of diesel fuel and machine oil. Red lights wash over the narrow control room, where a dozen sailors sit silently at their stations. The submarine is running on battery power. No engine noise, no wasted motion, only the slow rotation of the propeller pushing thousands of tons of steel through black water at 3 knots. The sonar operator raises a hand. Surface contacts detected. Several acoustic signatures appear on the display. Large, slow, layered. Exactly what the crew has been waiting for. The officer of the watch leans in closer. Carrier group. Even through layers of ocean noise, the signature is unmistakable. A nuclear supercarrier produces a sound profile unlike anything else at sea. Cooling pumps, turbines, auxiliary systems, hundreds of mechanical rhythms blending into one low industrial heartbeat. Around it are the escorts, destroyers, cruisers, all moving together in a protective ring. The Iranian submarine commander studies the display. Distance, 18 nautical miles. Perfect. He glances at the navigation plot. His submarine is positioned directly ahead of the carrier's projected course, hidden beneath a temperature layer that bends sonar waves and helps conceal his location. But the real strength of the trap is somewhere else. 20 miles to the west, a second Iranian submarine waits in silence. Another Kilo-class boat. Another crew holding still beneath the sea. For nearly 6 hours, both submarines have drifted into position without a sound. No transmissions, no radar, no periscope exposure. Only passive sonar, patience, and perfect timing. Because timing is the one thing this plan depends on more than anything else. The commander raises a finger. Confirm target classification. The sonar operator nods. Multiple escorts. One large acoustic signature consistent with a U.S. supercarrier. For several seconds, the commander says nothing. Then he gives the order in a calm, quiet voice. Prepare tube 1. In the torpedo compartment, sailors move fast. Hydraulic clamps release. A massive 533mm heavyweight torpedo slides into place inside the launch tube. The weapon weighs nearly 2 tons, guided by sonar built to chase the loudest ship in the water. The torpedo technician secures the tube door. Tube 1 ready. Back in the control room, the submarine adjusts course slightly, fine-tuning its launch angle. The carrier group continues moving closer. 14 nautical miles. 13. Inside the submarine, the only sounds are the faint whisper of electronics and the occasional groan of pressure against the hull. The commander raises the periscope for one short look, just a brief glance. Above, the surface shows only darkness, with pale moonlight stretching across the swells. The radar warning receiver stays silent. The American ships still have not found him. The periscope drops. The commander turns to the fire control officer. Target solution. The computer finishes its calculations. Speed, bearing, lead angle. Everything aligns. The officer gives the result. Solution stable. At almost the exact same moment, far to the west, the second submarine is completing the same process. 2 crews, 2 torpedoes, 2 attack angles. If both weapons reach the carrier at nearly the same time, the ship's defenses will have to split their focus. That is the entire idea behind the plan. Overload the response. The Iranian commander places his hand on the launch console. Fire 1. Compressed air explodes through the launch tube. A violent burst of pressure throws the torpedo forward. The weapon shoots clear of the submarine and into the sea. Seconds later, its propeller comes alive and the guidance system locks onto the carrier's acoustic signature. On the sonar display, the weapon vanishes into the darkness. Weapon running. 30 seconds later, hundreds of meters away, the second submarine fires. Another torpedo enters the water. Now 2 weapons are racing beneath the waves, accelerating hard as they drive toward their target. Inside the submarines, the crews listen to the fading hum of their torpedoes disappearing into the ocean. The commander allows himself the smallest nod. If everything goes exactly to plan, the weapons will reach the carrier in minutes. And by the time the Americans fully understand what is happening, the window to react will already be closing. What neither submarine crew realizes is that several hours earlier, high above the same stretch of ocean, another aircraft had already changed the entire situation. A U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft had flown a slow, methodical search pattern across this exact area. From beneath its fuselage, the aircraft released more than 100 sonobuoys, creating a wide acoustic net under the sea, each buoy listening, each buoy recording. And one of them had already caught the quiet signature of a diesel-electric submarine drifting silently through the darkness. Back inside the carrier strike group, computers had been processing that data all night, waiting, tracking. So when the torpedoes finally entered the water, the U.S. Navy already had a strong idea of where the hunters were hiding. 3:15 a.m. local time. 3 minutes after the torpedoes enter the water, the entire carrier strike group shifts from defense to pursuit. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tactical display now shows 2 separate fights unfolding at once, one above the surface and one below it. The torpedoes are still racing toward the carrier, but the focus in the room is already starting to change, because the moment a submarine fires, it gives away something priceless. Its position. Mark launch bearing, the tactical officer orders. 2 thin lines extend outward from the torpedo tracks on the display, stretching back across the sea. Each line points toward the area where the weapon must have been launched. 2 sectors, 2 submarines, 2 targets. The captain does not hesitate. Begin anti-submarine engagement. Out on the dark water, the carrier's escort destroyers react immediately. The first Arleigh Burke-class destroyer turns hard to port, its bow cutting through black swells as it accelerates toward the eastern launch bearing. Another destroyer swings wide to the south. Both ships activate their AN/S QS-5 3C hull-mounted sonar systems. A moment later, the ocean erupts with sound. The first active sonar pulse blasts outward, a deep metallic strike rolling through miles of water like an underwater shockwave. Seconds later, the return comes back. Aboard the destroyer, the sonar operator leans closer to the screen. There, a contact takes shape. Distance, 12 nautical miles. Depth, roughly 400 feet. Speed, minimal. Exactly where the launch bearing predicted. Submarine contact classified, the operator reports. Back aboard the carrier, the information flows straight into the CIC. A track number appears, hostile confirmed. Above the sea, the MH-60R Seahawk races toward the same area. Inside the helicopter, the sensor operator drops the first sonar buoy into the water. The small floating device hits the surface and immediately starts sending acoustic data back to the aircraft. A second buoy follows, then a third. Within moments, the helicopter has built a compact detection grid over the suspected submarine position. The operator activates the dipping sonar. A long cable unspools from the aircraft, lowering the sonar dome deep below the surface. Again, the water fills with pulses. Ping, ping, ping. Then the operator catches it. A low mechanical rhythm hidden under the ocean's background noise. Propeller blades, slow, heavy, diesel-electric. The operator calls it out. Submarine contact confirmed. Back on the carrier, the CIC updates again. Iranian Kilo-class submarine, range closing. At the same time, the fight against the torpedoes is still unfolding. On the tactical display, the 2 tracks begin behaving very differently. The first torpedo starts to drift off course. The Nixie acoustic decoy trailing behind the carrier is working exactly as intended, broadcasting a stronger acoustic signal than the ship itself. The torpedo's guidance shifts. The weapon turns. Now it is chasing the decoy, but the second torpedo does something else. It ignores the decoy completely. Second weapon still tracking the carrier, the sonar operator reports. Distance 2 nautical miles. Speed unchanged. The captain glances toward the helm. Maintain turn. The carrier's massive rudders keep forcing the ship into a gradual arc through the sea. Every degree matters, but the torpedo keeps coming. Above the surface, the Seahawk receives a new order. Engage submarine. Inside the helicopter, the pilots exchange a quick look. The aircraft banks sharply toward the sonar contact. The sensor operator marks the exact position. Contact holding depth, bearing steady. The pilot steadies the aircraft over the area, holding a precise hover in the dark sky. Beside him, the weapons officer reaches for the control panel. Mounted under the Seahawk's fuselage are 2 Mark 54 lightweight torpedoes, built specifically to track submarines. Fast, agile, and highly accurate. But before the helicopter can act, another voice cuts through the radio from the carrier. Torpedo closing fast. Back inside the CIC, the tactical display flashes red. The second torpedo is now less than a mile away, still locked onto the carrier. The sonar technician studies the screen, his voice dropping slightly. Weapon switching modes. The captain looks up immediately. What mode? The technician hesitates for a split second. Terminal homing. That means the torpedo is no longer searching. It has selected its target and is now driving straight toward the carrier at full speed. 3:17 a.m. Inside the CIC, every screen is focused on a single red track cutting across the display. Distance, 1,000 yards and closing. The sonar technician calls out the numbers as they update. 800 yards. No one speaks. The carrier is already turning, but a ship of this size cannot react quickly. Every second counts. On the bridge, the officer of the deck grips the rail as the helmsman holds the turn. Maintain rudder, the captain says calmly. Below the surface, massive rudders angle deeper into the water, forcing the ship's bow slowly away from the incoming path. But the torpedo keeps adjusting. Inside its guidance system, it listens for the strongest mechanical signature in the ocean, and nothing stands out more than a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. Back in the CIC 600 yards, the tactical officer leans forward. Decoy active, Nixie transmitting. Far behind the carrier, the A/SLQ-25 Nixie countermeasure trails through the water on a long cable. The small device sends out powerful acoustic signals imitating the ship's sound. To the torpedo, it should appear as the perfect target. But the weapon has not committed yet. 500 yards. The room remains silent except for steady updates. Outside, the ocean is calm, giving no sign of the high-speed chase happening beneath the surface. On the display, the torpedo track begins to shift slightly. The sonar technician narrows his eyes, weapon oscillating. The captain immediately understands. The torpedo seeker is deciding. Carrier or decoy? Behind the ship, the Nixie system pushes out stronger and stronger signals, trying to pull the weapon away. 400 yards. For a brief moment, the torpedo hesitates. Then the red track shifts. Just a few degrees, but enough. The sonar technician speaks again, weapon turning. At first, the change is subtle. Then it becomes clear. The torpedo begins following the decoy trailing behind the carrier. Inside the CIC, a few officers exchange quick glances, but no one relaxes. Torpedoes can still correct their path. 300 yards. The weapon accelerates slightly as it locks onto the new acoustic target. The distance from the carrier begins to increase, but the decoy is now in serious danger. Behind the ship, sailors at the Nixie control station monitor cable tension closely. The small device has become the torpedo's only focus. And then, a powerful underwater detonation erupts several hundred yards behind the carrier. A deep shockwave rolls through the sea. The entire ship shudders as the energy passes beneath the hull. Lights flicker for a brief moment inside the CIC before stabilizing. Explosion detected. Range astern, 600 yards. The captain turns toward the sonar console. Confirmed decoy impact. The technician studies the display. A cloud of bubbles expands where the torpedo detonated. The Nixie signal disappears. He nods. Torpedo neutralized. Decoy lost. A quiet exhale moves through the room. The carrier has made it through the attack. But the situation is far from over. Somewhere beneath the surface, the submarine that launched the weapon is still there. Above the water, the MH-60R Seahawk continues circling over the sonar contact detected earlier. Inside the helicopter, the sensor operator studies the live feed from the dipping sonar. The submarine has barely moved. Still slow, still deep. The pilot glances toward the weapons panel. Target holding? Affirmative, the operator replies. Back in the CIC, the tactical officer gives the next command. Helicopter cleared to engage. Inside the Seahawk, the weapons officer flips open a safety cover. His hand moves toward the release switch. Below them, nearly 400 feet under the surface, the Iranian submarine continues moving through the darkness. The crew on board still believes their attack is unfolding. They cannot see the carrier. They cannot see the destroyers closing in from both sides. And they cannot hear the helicopter hovering directly above them. But the Seahawk crew can hear everything. The sensor operator marks the exact position of the submarine. Then he speaks into the intercom. Target acquired. 3:19 a.m. High above the Arabian Sea, the MH-60R Seahawk holds a steady orbit. Its rotors cut through the night air, while the ocean below remains calm and almost featureless. But the crew knows exactly what is beneath them. 400 feet down, the Iranian Kilo-class submarine moves slowly, still unaware it has been located. Inside the helicopter, the sonar display shows a clear acoustic picture. A long, cylindrical hull, large propeller blades turning slowly, depth around 400 feet, speed just 3 knots. Submarine contact stable, the operator confirms. The pilot holds position while the weapons officer arms the payload. Mounted under the Seahawk is a Mark 54 lightweight torpedo, designed for this exact situation. Fast, precise, and built to track submarines. The weapons officer inputs the final data: bearing, depth, estimated speed. The system processes the solution within seconds. Solution ready. Back inside the carrier's combat information center, every console is locked onto the live feed from the helicopter. The captain gives a short, final command: engage. Inside the Seahawk, the weapons officer presses the release. The torpedo drops cleanly, hits the ocean, and for a split second, it floats on the surface. Then the engine ignites. The Mark 54 dives sharply beneath the waves, its guidance system activating as it begins tracking the submarine's acoustic signature. Underwater, it accelerates, 40 knots, then faster. Inside the Iranian submarine, the sonar operator suddenly goes rigid. A new sound appears, high frequency, Fast, closing. His voice cuts through the control room. Torpedo in the water. The commander snaps toward him. Bearing? The operator studies the display. Above us. That answer changes everything. The Americans have already found them. Emergency dive, the commander orders. Ballast tanks flood instantly. The submarine angles downward, trying to slip deeper beneath the thermocline, where sonar becomes less effective. But the Mark 54 is already locked onto the sound of the propeller. It adjusts course and closes in fast. Inside the submarine, the crew launches acoustic countermeasures, small decoys designed to confuse incoming torpedoes. One ejects, then another. The decoys spread through the water, broadcasting artificial propeller noise in every direction. For a brief moment, the torpedo hesitates. Its seeker scans. Then it decides. The real submarine is louder. The weapon commits. Distance closing, 200 meters. Inside the control room, the sonar operator lowers his voice. Impact imminent. The commander grips the edge of the console, and then the ocean erupts. A powerful underwater explosion tears through the darkness. The shockwave slams into the submarine's hull. Inside the Seahawk, the sensor operator sees it instantly on the display. A violent cloud of bubbles expands outward, then fades into silence. Explosion confirmed, he reports. Back on the carrier, the CIC receives the data. The tactical officer nods. First submarine neutralized, but it is not over. 20 miles away, the second Iranian submarine has already heard the blast. Inside that submarine, the sonar operator reports the distant explosion. The commander understands immediately. The ambush has failed. Now they are the ones being hunted. He orders maximum silent running. Engines drop to minimal power. The submarine tries to slip away beneath the thermal layers, but an American destroyer is already closing in, and it has been listening the entire time. On the destroyer's deck, a launcher rotates into position. Inside it, an anti-submarine rocket. Targeting data arrives instantly from the carrier's network. Coordinates locked. Depth estimated. Fire. The rocket launches with a burst of flame, streaking across the sky before arcing back toward the ocean. Moments later, it hits the water. The casing splits open. A second torpedo drops beneath the surface and activates immediately. Below, the Iranian submarine begins maneuvering, trying to break contact. But the torpedo has already picked up the acoustic trail. 2 minutes later, the destroyer's sonar operator hears it. A deep underwater detonation. Then a second, smaller collapse as internal compartments give way under pressure. Back in the carrier's CIC, the tactical display clears. Both submarine tracks disappear. Only the carrier strike group remains. The captain watches the screen for a moment, then speaks quietly. Log the engagement. The tactical officer enters the final report. 2 hostile submarines, both neutralized. Above the water, the Seahawk circles once more before turning back toward the carrier. On the horizon, the first light of dawn begins to spread across the ocean. The sea returns to silence. No announcements, no headlines, just a single line in the strike group's log. 2 torpedoes launched, 2 submarines lost, carrier secure.